What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome to Tech on the Mark. I'm your host, Mark, also known as the Knowledge Flexing Texan. Today I got another re-upload for you. It's going to be my tutorial there on how to add additional brushes to Adobe Photoshop. My version is Photoshop CS6, but it's pretty universal. I'm not too sure about the new CC version they have. I haven't played with it or had any kind of experience with it at all, but for CS6 and anyone's lower, this tutorial will be the trick for you. If you want to add additional brushes to your Photoshop, let's stroll on down the road and figure out how to do it. Today I'm going to do another little tutorial there on how to add additional brushes to Adobe Photoshop. I had done this previously, but the sound quality was really bad. So I'm going to redo it today, and I'm going to show you a few other steps you can take while you're doing this. First thing you need to do is download some brushes. You can Google free Adobe Photoshop brushes and find plenty of websites giving some away for free. I've downloaded two right here. First thing you're going to need to do, you're going to have to open these. They usually come in a zip container or an RAR container. You're going to need a program like WinZip or WinRAR that can open either files. I use WinRAR because it opens both the zip and RAR files. So I'll put a link for that where you can download it. First thing you want to do is double click. You see it opens up right there. We're just going to drag that out to the desktop, and then we're going to do the same with the other one. What I like to do is I like to rename them to be a little bit more consistent before I try to load them. So I'm going to rename these right now. So now that we have them renamed, there's two ways you can install these. You can install these in the main Photoshop plugin preset directory for brushes. That means it'll always show up whenever you load Adobe Photoshop. Or you can create an external folder somewhere else on your computer that you can load only when you want to load them. Now doing that makes it quicker for Photoshop to load because it's not searching for all the plugins. Every time you open Photoshop, it scans every plugin you have available. First, I'm going to show you how to install them to an external folder. I'm just going to create a new folder here on my desktop. This is a real handy way to be able to back up any additional brushes you download. So I'm just going to take those and drag them into that folder, and you'll see they appear there. Now I'm going to go ahead and open Adobe Photoshop. Once Photoshop is open there, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new file. Then I'm going to go over here to the Tools palette, and I'm going to select the Paintbrush tool. Then I'm going to right click over here. You see this shows us our available brushes right now. I'm going to click on this little gear icon here, and I'm going to go up here to Load Brushes. I'm going to browse to where that folder is that we created, My Brushes, and you'll see I have Broken Glass and Lighting. So let's try Broken Glass first. We'll double click that, and that'll add it to the bottom of our already existing preset brushes there. Just going to right click here, and I'm going to select one, and you see it kind of gives you a broken glass effect. Before we do that, I'm going to do a gradient here, and then we'll select our brush. You see it looks a little bit different where there's some color behind it, or you can also do it in different colors. You can change the color of the brushes just like you can with any of your default brushes. And you can get some really cool effects that way. Another thing you can do, go ahead and create a gradient again. You can create a new layer, and then you can place that brush stroke on a new layer. And when you do that, you can manipulate that layer the same way you could any other layer. You can go Control T on your keyboard there, and then you can reshape it, resize it. You can scale it. You can rotate it. You can skew it different ways. You can distort it. You can change its perspective. You can warp it any which way you desire. And you can get some really cool effects doing those brush strokes on different layers. You can also do your typical layer styles on it, bevel and emboss, stroke, inner shadow, inner glow, satin, color overlay, gradient overlay. pattern overlay, or whatever else. It's real easy to manipulate those brush strokes and do really creative things with them. But now I'm going to show you how to add those brushes to the default Photoshop preset folder. What you got to do is go to My PC and then browse to where you've installed Photoshop. Typically that's going to be under Program Files, Adobe, and then I'm using the 64-bit version of Photoshop. Then I'm going to go to Presets, Brushes, and there's our brush menu. So we wanted to do all we had to do is open this folder, grab these two guys and drag them over here, and it'll ask you for administrator privileges. Just hit continue, and you see there it's loaded those two brushes into our default Photoshop preset folder there. So now when you open Photoshop, it's going to scan that preset folder and those brushes will be in there for you. That way you don't have to browse and load them every time you want to use them. But I recommend that you keep very minimal amount of brushes in there, because as I said before, when you load Photoshop, it scans all presets that you have installed, and it could slow down your loading time for Photoshop. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create another new file there, and then we're going to go here to our brush menu once again. Now we're going to click on the little gear icon here, and we should see broken glass and lighting right there. So once you have those loaded, once you click on one, it's going to bring up a little dialog box there asking you if you want to replace all the brushes you see there with the ones you're loading, or if you want to append them, which will add them to the bottom of the list. Right now we're going to click just replace them all, and then you see we have just our lighting brushes right there. But if you wanted to append another set of brushes, you can just click on those and hit append, and boom, there it adds them to the bottom of the ones you already have loaded. That's just some of the neat little things you can do with those brushes in Adobe Photoshop. Like I said, there's many ways to manipulate them, add them to new layers, twist them, emboss them, do different stuff. You can create a lot of really unique designs. I was just playing around, wasn't trying to create anything in particular there. I'm going to come back up top and give you some final thoughts on this. So that was my tutorial there on how to add additional brushes to Adobe Photoshop. If you'd like to see more videos in the future on Photoshop, on maybe how to add actions or styles or different things like that, be sure to leave a comment down below and let me know, and I'll try to do some of those videos as well. That's all I have for this video here. I sure do appreciate you watching. If you found this video entertaining, enjoyable, or educational, please be sure to give me a like, subscribe, and then a share. Sure would mean a lot to me. Visit me on my website, www.techonthemark.com, and if you'd like to help support this channel even further, please be sure to visit me on patreon.com/techonthemark, where you can get access to Tech on the Mark Patreon only exclusive videos. Thank you so much for watching. Sure hope you have a great day.